Aircraft is flying on a heading with 12 degrees starboard drift. So let's say consider aircraft heading is 090 with a starboard drift heading is less than track. So if heading is 090, track will be more than the heading. So by 12 degrees starboard drift, so track will be heading plus drift. Heading is 090, drift is 12 degree. So 090 plus 12 is 102 degree. So this is your track 102 degree. So now it's written. Find relative bearing if NDB is 30 nautical mile ahead. 30 nautical mile ahead. That means this is your NDB station. Initial magnetic bearing to the station is 102 degree. 102 degree. Initial magnetic bearing to the station is 102 degree. Okay, and we are told that the track is 5 nautical mile to the left hand side. That means aeroplane is 5 nautical miles. Aeroplane is 5 nautical miles left. Aeroplane is 5 nautical mile to the left hand side. So we have to find the final track to the station and relative bearing. So currently aircraft is here. Our initial track to the station was 102 degrees. We will first find out final track to the station. We will find out final track to the station or QDM. QDM, which is final QDM. Initial QDM is what? 102. Okay, so we will have to find final QDM to the station. Next, the station is how many nautical miles ahead? 30 nautical miles. So station is 30 nautical miles ahead. Okay, so this is the complete diagram. Now I will draw the same diagram. We will apply 1 in 60 rule. Okay, so closing angle, when applying 1 in 60 rule, we will get closing angle. Closing angle equals to distance of track divided by distance gone into 60. So closing angle, distance of track is 5, distance gone is 30 into 60. So closing angle will be equal to 10 degree. Closing angle will be equal to 10 degree. Currently our aircraft is somewhere here. Currently aircraft is somewhere here. And it's given in the question that the track where aircraft is situated is parallel to the center line of this track. Now we know this track is what direction? Is 102. So I'm writing here initial magnetic bearing to the station is 102. So this will also be equal to 102 degrees. This will also be equal to 102 degrees. Now closing angle is 10 degrees. So if this is 10, this will also be equal to 10 degree, right? Because alternate angles will be equal. Now what is, we have to find out relative bearing. To find out relative bearing, we will have to know final magnetic bearing to the station minus magnetic heading. We know magnetic heading. We know initial magnetic bearing to the station, which is 102. This is where our station is located. Okay, so initial magnetic bearing to the station is 102. Our aircraft is here, not here. Okay, therefore from here to here we will have to find out new track towards the station or new magnetic bearing to the station. So new magnetic bearing to the station will be new magnetic bearing to the station or final magnetic bearing to the station will be 102 degree 102 degree plus 10 degree 102 degree plus 10 degree which is 112 degrees which is 112 degrees. Okay, so from here the track is 102. From there we will have to make a right hand turn of 10 degrees to come back to this station. So the new track to the station is 112 degree. Apart from that, the heading of aircraft is what? We have considered heading to be equal to 09er 0. So heading is 09er 0. Okay, so we have to make a right turn of 10 degree to make a final track to the station to be equal to 112 degree. So let's substitute the values. Final magnetic bearing to the station is how much? It's 112. This magnetic heading, it is 09er 0. Therefore, relative bearing is equal to 112 minus 90, which is equal to 022 degrees, which is equal to 022 degrees. So the answer to our question is, what is the relative bearing if NDB is 30 nautical mile ahead? So relative bearing is 022 degrees. Diagrammatically, how will you represent it? This is your NDB station. Initial magnetic bearing to the station is 102. Final magnetic bearing to the station will be equal to 112. This is the diagram. Okay, and aircraft heading is 09er 0. What, like this? So this is heading 09er 0. Relative bearing is always measured from the heading of aircraft towards the track, which will take you towards the station. So the angle will be clockwise this angle, and that is equal to 22 degree. 22 degree. So let's go to next question. Question number 10. Aircraft is flying a constant heading with 12 degree port drift and track made good is 5 nautical mile to the right hand side. What will be the ADF reading if station is behind you? Now in the previous question the station was ahead of you. Now the station is behind you. So let's start with the basics. First, always we have been given 12 degree port drift. 12 degree port drift means heading will be more than track. So let's consider heading equal to 090. If heading is 090, track will be heading minus 12, which is 090 minus 12 to be equal to 078 degree. Okay, now NDB is behind us. That means the picture looks like this. This is your NDB station. This is your NDB station, and you're tracking away from it. You're tracking away from it. Okay, you're tracking away from it on a track of 078, like this. Okay, this is what it means. So you're tracking away from the station. So this track that we have found with the help of drift is what track it is? Track away from the station. So that is it. This is QDR, or track from the station. So I'm writing here 078. Now when you know QDR, you can find out QDM. QDM is nothing but track towards the station, which will be equal to opposite of 078, which is 258, which is 258 degrees. So this is the first part of the sun, 12 degree port drift. Now let's go to the next part, which says track made good is 5 nautical mile to the right hand side. So that means we will have to redraw the sum given to us. This is your NDB station. This was your initial track. So initial track from the station is what we have found out to be equal to how much? 078. So this is your initial track 078. Now they say the track made good. Okay, that the track on which aircraft is situated is actually 5 nautical miles to the right hand side. So aircraft is nowhere on this track, but it is somewhere on another track which is 5 nautical miles to the right hand side. So this track will be called final track from the station. Okay, and it is how many nautical miles? It is 5 nautical miles to the right hand side. It is 5 nautical miles to the right hand side, and it is 30 nautical mile behind. So this is 30 nautical miles behind. Okay, so now if initial track is 078, what will be the angle or direction of this final track? Now to find the direction of this final track, we will have to know the track error between them. We will have to know the track error between them. Now we don't know track error currently, but we can find that out. So track error is equal to distance of track divided by distance gone into 60. Substitute the values. Distance of track is 5. Distance gone is 30 into 60. So track error is 10 degrees. Track error is 10 degrees. Track error is 10 degrees. So now 10 degrees to the right hand side. Initial track is here. Final track is to the right of it. So final track to the station, final track from the station is equal to 078 plus 10, which is 088, is 078 plus 10, which is 088. Okay, so initial track is 78, final track is 88. Now the heading of aircraft is what? 090. We have considered heading of aircraft 090. So aircraft is somewhere on this track made good, and its heading is 090, which is more than 088. So I'm drawing it somewhat like this. Okay, so to the right hand side of 088. So track of aircraft is, correction, heading of aircraft is 090. Heading of aircraft is 090, which is to the right of 088, a final track away from the station. So this is what we have got, all the basic information with us. Now let's find the question. The question states what will be the ADF reading when you are flying away from the station and station is 30 nautical miles behind you. So the formula is ADF reading is equal to magnetic bearing the station minus magnetic heading, right? Magnetic bearing to the station minus magnetic heading. What is magnetic heading? It is 090. Now what is magnetic bearing to the station? Now this magnetic bearing to the station is your final magnetic bearing to the station. So what is your final track from the station? Your final track from the station is 088. So what will be the final track towards the station? It will be the reciprocal of 088, which will be equal to 268, which is equal to 268. So relative bearing equals to 268 minus 90, which is 178 degrees. So relative bearing answer is 178 degrees. So a quick recap. We started with the first piece of information, which was 12-degree port drift. From 12-degree port drift, we will find out track away from the station, initial track away from the station. The next piece of information is track made good, which is 5 nautical mile to the right hand side. From this, you will come to know the final track away from the station. Initial we found out, now final track away from the station. The difference between them is 10 degree using 1 in 60 rule formula. Okay. Now you have final track away from the station. If you have final track away from the station, you can also find final track towards the station, which is reciprocal of that. Now let's go to the formula. Relative bearing is what? Angle between your magnetic bearing towards the station and magnetic heading. Now here we have two magnetic bearing to the station. We can have initial magnetic bearing to the station. Okay, we can have initial magnetic bearing to the station, or we can have final magnetic bearing to the station. So what is useful to us? The track which is useful to us is final magnetic bearing to the station. Substitute the values, we get relative bearing of 178. Let's go to next question. Question 11. Aircraft is flying a constant heading with 8 degrees starboard drift. So they have not given us the heading. Let's consider aircraft heading is 090. Drift is 8 degree starboard drift. Drift is 8 degree starboard drift. With a starboard drift, we have heading less than track. So if heading is 090, track will be more than heading. So 098. 90 plus 8 degree is 098. Okay, so this is what the initial track we have. Now NDB is ahead of us. NDB is ahead of us. That means the track that we are talking about is track towards the station. Is track towards the station. Previously it was track away from the station. Now NDB is ahead of us. So it is but understood the track that we have got is track towards the station. So I am writing here specifically the track towards the station, also known as QDM, is 098. If QDM is 098, QDR will be reciprocal of that, which will be 180 plus 98, 278. 278. Okay, so this is the first piece of information that we have with us. Next is track made good is 5 nautical mile to the right hand side. So let's draw the diagram. This is your NDB station. So this is 5 nautical miles to the right hand side. Okay. Initial track towards the station is 098. Initial track towards the station is 098 degrees, right? The NDB station is 30 nautical mile ahead of us. It's 30 nautical mile ahead of us. So let's find the track error. So if this is initial track to the station, this will be final track to the station. Final track to the station. So our aeroplane is currently here, somewhere here. Okay. So from here we have to go towards that side. But heading of aircraft is what? 090. So a more proper diagram will be somewhat like this. 0, 9, 0. Okay, heading 0, 9, 0. So let's find out this angle. This angle equals to distance of track, distance gone into 60. So 5 divided by 30 into 60, which is equal to 10 degree, which is equal to 10 degree. Now is our aircraft is not on this initial track, the correct track. It is to the 5 nautical miles to the right hand side. It is 5 nautical miles to the right hand side. And the track where aircraft is located is parallel to this track. So the direction of that track will also be parallel to, it's given in the question, the track where aircraft is situated 5 nautical miles to the right hand side is parallel to the initial track, which is 098. Now, from this track, from this particular track, we have to go towards that NDB. So we will have to follow this final track towards the NDB, which is to the left hand side of this track, which is to the left hand side of this track. So the triangle, I am drawing it again, is somewhat like this. Now this angle 10 degree I am writing here. So this angle will also be equal to 10 degree. Alternate angles are equal. If this, the direction of this is 0, 9 or 8, the direction of this will be how much? If this is 0, 9 or 8 going outside, the direction of this will be less than 0, 9 or 8 because this track is to the left of 0, 9 or 8. So it will be less than that. So I will write here again, final at the station is equal to initial track minus 10 degree. Initial track is 0, 9 or 8 minus 10 degree. So 0, 8, 8. So final track to the station or final magnetic bearing to the station is 0, 9, 088 degree. Initial was 098. The final one is 088 degree. Now we have been told to find ADF reading nothing but a relative bearing. So relative bearing formula is final magnetic bearing to the station. There are two magnetic bearing to the station in this solution, the initial one and the final one. We are concerned about the final one, minus magnetic heading. So 088 minus 090, 0, which is minus 002, or minus, so the minus sign, to remove that minus sign you add 360. So you will get answer to be 358 degree. So relative bearing is 358 degree. So this is your NDB station. This is the track, final track to the NDB station, which is equal to 088. The heading of aircraft is 090. Okay, and relative bearings are always measured starting from heading and they go towards magnetic bearing to the station. So clockwise direction from here will be established. Entire circle would have made 360 degree, but we have not made an entire full circle. We have just made a small part of it. So 360 minus 2 degree is 358 degree. So this is how the relative bearing is found out. So I hope you have understood this sum also. With this, we come to the end of this lecture. I hope you have understood all the questions we have done today, and you are also comfortable in solving questions we have done in the previous lectures. Keep watching these videos. We are going to solve more and more track and trace related questions, and also VOR, RMI, ADF questions in the next videos. If you have liked this lecture, do hit the like button, subscribe to this channel if you haven't, and share this video with all your friends. Let me know your comments, feedback, and questions in the comment box. All the best, keep learning.